Needless to say, this video is going to contain spoilers, so yeah, you've been warned. I don't know where to begin. It's been a while since something has got me this riled up, but I was really looking forward to watching this movie because I knew it'd be hilariously stupid. It's just, Christian propaganda and shit. But I didn't even have fun with this. Watching this movie was just infuriating. There were a few, hilariously dumb moments, but it's infuriating and it's offensive. It's offensive to atheists like me, but, I don't even know where to begin here because I've just written down notes all over the place and there are so many things wrong with this movie that I could address. So I'm going to try not to make it too long, but I am probably going to go a bit all over the place with this video. But anyway, God's not dead. Now, this isn't a traditional movie review, but it is a movie, so I'm going to talk about it in that sense. It's directed by Harold Kronk and written by Chuck Konzelman and Kerry Solomon, who I have actually never heard of, weirdly, but, I'm sure they're very esteemed filmmakers. But, the plot of it is about a boy named Josh Wheaton who's going to college and he has to take a philosophy class for some reason. I don't know why, because he wants to be a lawyer. But the teacher, Professor Radisson, the big bad Professor Radisson, is an atheist and he is a straw man. He is a completely exaggerated caricature of a character who is just there to be the villain of the movie, and so the movie can say, oh, atheists are bad people. I wouldn't even call this a Christian propaganda film. It's an anti-atheist film. There is not a single nice atheist in the movie. Out of all the atheists in the movie, there is not a single one who is good. Out of the Christians in the movie, there's not a single one who's bad. They're all the greatest, nicest people you'll ever meet. And people of other religions aren't portrayed very nicely either, like Muslims and stuff. But anyway, I'm just sort of going to go through the whole plot of this movie and discuss why it's bullshit and why it's bad. First off, as a movie, it is very poorly made, poorly directed, horrible dialogue, absolutely awful. And the acting is as wooden as the cross Jesus died on. Seriously, the acting in this movie is no good. I can't think of a single good performance in this.
Wait a minute. This isn't my world. Disappointed!
The music makes it feel like I'm watching a TV show, like Glee or something. I don't know. This whole movie just feels like a TV show. It's like a TV movie. It's really lame. This movie is so lame. Like, honestly, the amount of lame shit in this movie is absolutely incredible. All the characters are really dumb. The atheist professor is meant to be some intellectual, he's an idiot, he's a petty douchebag. The main character is just some dumb Jesus freak. He has no personality, so it's hard to like him, because literally the only thing you know about him as a character is that he's a Jesus freak. He doesn't, he doesn't have any interests. You don't see him do anything other than the God stuff, there's nothing about his personal life. There's a whole bunch of side characters. I don't really know the point of the story, because a lot of them don't relate to the story at all. But I'll go into each one, and, so the atheist is the professor, and the kid comes into the philosophy class, and immediately, without even any introduction or anything, the professor goes on about how there is no God, let's skip debate, and, let's all just conclude that there is no God. Isn't philosophy class about debating? Isn't it about you questioning everything and coming to your own conclusions? I don't think this professor knows how philosophy works. But he makes everyone sign this declaration saying that God is dead, of course, using the fucking Nietzsche quote. But, so everyone signs it, nonchalantly, because he says they'll fail if they don't sign it. And what fucking professor would be allowed to do that in real life? What atheist would even act like that? Forcing people's beliefs to hinder their grades. It is ridiculous. Everyone in the class, nonchalantly signs it, probably just, oh, I'm gonna fail. But then our friend, Jesus freak Josh Wheaton, says, I can't sign this, I'm a Christian. And the professor is like, oh, well, this is my class, so it's my rules, just sign it, you can pray on your own time. And he's like, no, I won't sign it. And the professor jumps to, okay, we have to have a debate, you have to prove to us that Jesus is real. Since when is philosophy all about religion? I mean, it's about everything. I don't really know that much about philosophy, but I'd assume that the whole point of philosophy isn't just, like, God is real, God isn't real, blah, 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 blah. But, he makes that the whole point of everything and says the kid has to debate him, so we have our movie. I'm sick of this persecution complex that all these Christians have. You always see these things. They're taking prayer away from schools. Nobody likes us. Everybody's attacking Christianity. You are the fucking majority in almost every country in the world, aside from countries that, are ruled by other religions, like Hinduism or Islam and shit. But in America, in most of the Western world, you are the majority. Something like 80% of the American population believe in God. So, don't you act like you're these fucking victims and you're the minority. Seriously, in the movie, this kid, the main kid, is like the only one in the class that supposedly believes in God, which is pretty statistically unlikely because, outspoken atheists are actually not that common, at least from... In Australia, there's a lot more of us because, there are less Jesus freaks in Australia. But anyway, I don't know why they're always going around saying that they're victims. It's ridiculous, your faith is being tested. Fuck off. Why does the kid take the debate on? He could just drop the class and get another teacher. The guy at the start literally said to him, you should get another teacher, you should take the class differently. The kid needs the class, so why doesn't he just get a different teacher? It's like, no, I have to do this for God. Fucking hell, suck it up. I mean, why would you waste so much of your school time just for some mindless little debate? It's ridiculous. His girlfriend's a bitch as well. She's basically planned their whole future together and is like, oh, screw this debate, you have to pay attention to me or something. I don't know, she's not really that important to the movie. She ends up leaving him for spending too much time. His girlfriend of 6 years leaves him just for, focusing on a debate or some shit. But, anyway, let's get into some of the side characters. There's one girl, I believe her name is Amy. She's not involved in the school or anything. She's not involved in any of them. But, she's a vegetarian, I'm supposing. We find out what she is because on her bumper car, there's, a meat is murder sticker and then there's a humanist sticker. So, you find out later her character is an atheist. And, she's very a mean person. She goes and to ambush interview the Duck Dynasty guy and his wife, Willie Robertson, whose father is a very mean homophobe. But anyway, so she goes up to interview them and basically just abuses them, like, oh, fuck you guys, meat is murder, and you guys enjoy killing these ducks, and you then says some shit about how they pray to Jesus, I don't know, and the whole time, they're friendly, they're portrayed as the nicest fucking folk ever. Anyway, this atheist woman gets cancer. Is that her punishment for being atheist? Seriously, a lot of bad stuff happens, but how's this for the movie making us like the characters? I laughed when she got cancer. Fucking hell. It's supposed to be a sympathetic moment and shit, but yeah, she gets cancer and her boyfriend is some big fat cat businessman who's also an atheist. It isn't implicitly stated, but you find out at the end that he is an atheist, and he's just, no person would be like this in real life, but they have a dinner thing, and he's like, oh yeah, I made partner at the firm or some bullshit, and then she says to him, I might have cancer, do you hear me, I've got cancer, and this guy says, couldn't this wait till tomorrow? What fucking person acts like that in real life? No one. That's who, you don't say that, and then he proceeds to abuse her, and says that love isn't real, and I was only in this relationship with you because we both got something out of it. Now that you have cancer, I don't get anything out of it, so I'm leaving you. What fucking person would do that, aside from an evil sociopath? I don't understand. The whole movie is trying to portray atheists as these horrible, horrible, horrible people. Another side character is this Muslim girl at the school, and her father makes her wear a burqa. At school, she takes it off during school, and then just puts it back on when he picks her up. so he's portrayed as an evil guy as well. So like I said, anyone who's not a Christian is like bad. And this Muslim chick, right, starts converting to Christianity. She listens to all these Jesus things and everything. And her father finds out and kicks her out of the house and beats her up and shit. But I'm not really sure what point that has to the story, aside from saying that, oh, everyone except us is bad. On with the main plot. Josh asks the Reverend, who's also somewhat of a main character, but his plot doesn't make sense either. The whole movie is basically him and this other guy, some missionary guy. They're trying to get to somewhere, but their car won't start, and every time he gets in the car, it doesn't start, and that's basically their whole storyline. I don't really get it. But, so the kid asks him for advice, and, they talk, and he texts him, and he says, okay, I decide I'm gonna do the debate. Do you have any advice? And the Reverend says, and I fucking quote, don't try to be clever, be content to tell the truth. Now, from this context, the truth means, God is real and stuff. But he's saying, don't be clever, don't try to use evidence. I guess it means don't try to be smart and actually use intelligence and rational thinking and evidence to prove that God is real. Be content to tell the truth, which is what I guess most Christian debaters think. Oh no, I'm not going to use any intelligence in this debate. I'm just going to freaking broadly claim that yes, God is real, praise Jesus. It's fucking ridiculous. What fucking kind of advice is that? He's in real life. There is no way that he would win the debate, but of course, this is a Jesus movie. The kid uses the no one can disprove he exists argument. Come on. The professor, who despite being a douche actually makes some pretty good points, basically just owns him with one Stephen Hawking quote, and quotes Hawking saying how, we have gravity and everything, and the universe does not need a creator. And the kid's response is, well, it doesn't shake my faith. What the fuck does that prove? Oh, good for you still believe in God. You're not winning anyone over in real life. Now here comes one of my favourite parts of the movie, and I'm trying to refrain from showing clips because of copyright, but I might show a bit of this. Basically, the professor comes up to the kid after class. Josh is walking through the hallway, and Professor Radisson comes up, grabs him forcefully by the shoulder, turns him around, and he does a cliche villain speech. The villain in the movie, like, you're not gonna get me. It's ridiculous. Who is like that? He says, you think you're smarter than me? You think you're smarter than me? You're not going to humiliate me in front of my classroom. In that class, there is a God, and it is me. What person is like that? Who takes the debate of religion and atheism that seriously? I take it seriously, but I'm not going to, make it my mission to win. I'm just going to say, look, I think I'm right, these are my reasons, what do you think? And yeah, I'm gonna be mean, you're an idiot. But anyway, I guess I'm not making a lot of sense here, but I'm just angry at how much of a straw man this character is. He's just, a petty, angry douchebag, which is what a lot of Christians think atheists are, and this movie isn't going to help that image, because a lot of droolers are going to watch this movie and be like, oh yes, God is good, that's how atheists are bad people. But, another thing the guy says, he says, if you keep humiliating me in front of my class, then I'll make it my duty to make sure you don't get into law school. He is literally threatening to ruin this kid's life just for trying to prove him wrong. That is fucking ridiculous. Now, they're trying to create this image that the main character, Josh, is oppressed and, everyone's against him making this debate, and you can see it with the girlfriend. But and he keeps saying, oh yeah, everyone around me doesn't want me to do this. My parents don't want me to take the risk of this debate. You don't even see his parents in the movie. Just by saying that everyone's against him, doesn't create that image. Literally, the only person who says he shouldn't do it is his girlfriend. And, most people, he gets a lot of people coming up to him in support of him, like the Asian guy who actually factors in a bit more later. But, it's this persecution complex, they're making up oppression that isn't there. Okay, so now we get to learn more about the professor, and turns out he has a Christian wife. Now, firstly, I'm not going to say that this is unrealistic, but me personally, I don't think I can marry someone who's a Christian. It depends. If they were like, a moderate one that wasn't a homophobe and all shit like that, if I really liked them, I'd be cool with that. But it doesn't even look like they love each other. They don't have much chemistry together. But anyway, I'm not going to make assumptions about anything. But he treats her like shit, basically. He makes fun of her beliefs. He has all his, like, philosopher friends come over. And, of course, they're all atheists. And they're all, like, you know, this cigar-smoking people in, like, dark suits. Like, you know, brown suits and glasses and shit. Oh, yeah, it's quite hard. And, you know, they all make fun of her beliefs and everything. And he's like, oh, yeah, she's a work in progress or some shit. I don't know. But, you know, he treats like... And then the Reverend convinces her to, like, leave him. And, like, get this. She comes up to him at school and says, Jeffrey? And he's like, honey, you know I like to be called Professor Radisson here on campus. You make your wife call you Professor Radisson? What person is like that? That doesn't... He's not... Yeah, I'm lost for words, really. I'm at a loss for words. But yeah, she leaves him, and he's like, oh, I don't accept this. This is unacceptable. And then, you know, she leaves. Alright, so we come to the next debate, and Josh takes the Hawking quote that Radisson used and says it's circular logic. Freaking... Yeah, let me just refer to my notes here. He says, you know, he says it's circular reasoning that, like, the universe exists because it needed to exist, but that's a bit hypocritical of you. He uses the quote, nonsense is nonsense, even when spoken by famous scientists, while using a nonsense quote from a famous scientist. But, the thing he doesn't take into account about the Hawking's quote, he happily omits all the evidence and research that Hawking has done to come to that conclusion and just says it's circular logic. Well, Hawking actually uses research and observations, so maybe it's not circular logic. And how is that any different from the Christian circular logic of, well, I have faith, so I believe in God? That's basically you saying, I believe in God because I believe in God. God exists because God exists. Hypocritical, really. And then he turns it around by using the Hawking quote, philosophy is dead. Now, I couldn't be bothered researching it, but apparently it's a quote that he made. And, like, he just uses it as an attack against the professor, like, it's some big thing. Oh, philosophy is dead. Hawking said that too, but you used Hawking to refute me, so... But he doesn't provide any evidence to God existing. He just tries to prove that scientists don't know, and he says scientists are wrong, so therefore God must be real. And he uses, like, Bible quotes as evidence to support his claim. That's like saying the Bible is real because the Bible said so. It doesn't make any sense. And then everyone in the class is just watching him like he's some kind of poignant fucking genius. Then we get another cliche villain speech from the professor. I don't remember this one as well, so I'm not going to bother going into it. But it turns out, right, that the professor is a former Christian who lost their faith because of something bad happening to them. His mum died when he was 12. Well, how about that? Doesn't that just support the claim that Christians think that all atheists are just people who believe in God and hate God, which is utter shit? Take a look at me. I have never believed in God in my entire life. My parents brought me up, normally they didn't bring me up with religion, but they didn't bring me up with atheism either. I came to my own conclusion, and that's how it is. You can't assume that all atheists are just people that hate God. But, let me tell you something. If God were real, I would hate him, because he is evil as portrayed in the Bible. He commits genocide. God advocates rape and murder and everything, advocates slavery and stuff. So God is one evil motherfucker. They always say, we get our morality from the Bible, but the Bible is a fucking horror story sometimes. Seriously. You see some scenes with the professor and his wife at home, and, she wants to talk about religion and stuff, but he keeps changing the subject. I don't like talking about this. But if he doesn't like talking about it, then how come it's the only thing he makes such a huge deal about at school? I don't know, just a little rant I'd like to throw in there. I'm just going back and forth through my notes, but after he says that thing about how, I used to, but my mum died and everything, he then says, you'll find that the most committed atheists were once Christians. That's bullshit. You can't just assume. You can't make these assumptions. I mean, fair enough, there are a lot of atheists that used to be Christians, but that's all the light. But you can't say that that is all of it. You can't say that atheists are just people that the devil has corrupted and shit. It's ridiculous. Now we come to the third debate, where it gets just utterly ridiculous. Now, I know I may not look at the camera that much because I'm just, referring to my notes. But this is probably my favourite quote from the movie, actually. The kid says, evil is atheism's most potent weapon against the Christian faith. It comes out now, doesn't it? That's all this movie is about. This movie is just propaganda to say that atheists are evil people, which is not the case at all. Atheists are some of the nicest people I've ever come into contact with. Many Christians are nice as well. It's not like Christians are nice and atheists are evil. There are good atheists, there are bad atheists. There are good Christians, there are bad Christians. It isn't just black and white. He says, God allow... this is in response to the Epicurean paradox. He says, God allows evil... You know, like when people say, oh, why does God allow evil to exist and shit, which is a pretty, fair point. And he says, God allows evil to exist because of free will. Because of free will. So God, he's fine with evil because of free will. Is that why that one time he flooded the earth because the people he gave free will didn't act the way he wanted? I don't know. It didn't seem like he allowed evil to exist because of free will in that fucking circumstance, did he? Basically, he says evil is temporary and God's plan for evil is to one day destroy it. Well, if you want to one day destroy it, why the fuck did he even create it? That's what I don't understand. He attacks the professor for not believing in moral absolutes, which I don't really know why that comes into the occasion, but I don't think there are moral absolutes. I don't think stealing is wrong in every single circumstance. For example, if someone with nothing steals from someone with everything, and if they just steal like a little loaf of bread or something, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, I'm not going on about moral absolutes. Basically, I don't understand why the kid attacks the professor for that. And then he says that without God, there is no reason to be moral, and the only reason people are moral is because of God. And I'm sick of this argument. I am sick of people saying that atheists have no morals, because that is where the movie offends me personally. Okay? You don't need God to have morals. Morals come from within. They come from observing mankind, and they come from having sympathy for other human beings, which is part of human nature, not part of what God has taught us. I think the fact that you need the threat of hell to be a good person is more scary than... I don't even know what it's more scary than, but it is scary, Do you really find it so hard to believe that I can be a good person without worrying about a giant man in the sky who needs me to worship him? Then he has a go at the prof for teaching anti-theism. But this movie is teaching anti-atheism, so is it really any better? No, it is not. Do you hate God, sir? Well, atheists don't really believe in God, but do you hate God? He goes on like, do you hate God? Says it keeps, answer the question, a simple question. Do you hate God? And then the atheist breaks down. It's like, yes, I hate God. I hate everything about him. Yeah, there you go. He believes in God, but he hates him. He's not even an atheist after all. Completely inaccurate representation of atheists, but the dumbasses who are gonna watch this are gonna think that, I've already said this like 4 times in the video, so there's no point, but it is just absolutely ridiculous. And the kid says,
you've seen the science and the arguments. Science supports his existence. You know the truth.
No, it fucking doesn't. All you did was choose quotes that go against atheism. There is literally not one modicum of evidence pointing to God existing. So that is a fucking lie. And here comes my favourite part of the movie. The most cliche, lamest shit I've ever seen. The class is supposed to decide who wins the debate. So after it's over, the kid turns to the class and says, is God dead? And you have to watch this clip, because literally I laughed for a solid 3 to 4 minutes at this.
Is God dead? God is not dead. God's not dead.
God's not dead. God's not dead. God's not dead. God's not dead. God's not dead.
Oh, it gets me every fucking time. You're telling me that not a single person in the class disagreed with him? Are they a bunch of fucking idiots? Oh my god, why do they have to do the cliche stuff? God's not dead. Oh, Captain, my Captain! Ugh. Why couldn't they just be like, oh yeah, I agree with the Jesus kid? And like, God's not dead! That's... I'm just gonna say that's so fucking lame. But anyway, that's the end of the quote. He's converted some Chinese kid to Jesus now, and the kid's like, oh yes, I love Jesus now too. But anyway, now there's this big Newsboys concert, and the film is just propaganda for this band, the Newsboys, and I don't know how the concert has so many people at it, but anyway, they're there, and our friend, the girl Amy, who was the vegetarian atheist who got cancer, she shows up to interview, she's an interviewer, she shows up to the interview the Newsboys, and she's like, alright, you're gonna go out there and sing about God, like he's as real as you and me, and they're like, well, to us, they are as real, blah, blah, and then they go on, they just, like, quote random Bible scribblings, as in, oh yeah, it's all in there, and, she disagrees with them, of course, but then one of them says, well, it's where we get our hope from, where do you get our hope from? And then she's speechless, and is like, oh, I don't know, and basically, rather than helping her out, they take it as an opportunity to convert her to Christianity, and of course it works, they pray together, and she's like, yeah, I love Jesus now, but, that's bullshit that they're saying that the only reason they have hope is God. That is bullshit. I draw hope from thinking life is going to get better, from thinking that, you know, one day I might have an awesome life, I might become a film director, which is basically the only hope I have in my life, which would be freaking awesome. You can draw hope from other things without God. What is there even hope for God? Like, oh yay, I might get to go to heaven. She is literally fucking dying. Professor Radisson is very sad. He's at his house, he's all alone, he's like... reads a letter from his mum, which of course is like, oh yeah, I love God and everything. He goes for a walk, well, he sees a newspaper that has a Newsboys concert, but he goes for a walk, and of course it starts raining. It has to fucking start raining on him, doesn't it? But then, he gets hit by a car. He gets hit by a car! See what I mean? Horrible things happen to the atheist cat. He gets hit by a fucking car. He's on the ground, he's fucking dying, alright? The Reverend and his friend, the missionary guy, they happen to be there in their car, they get out to go help him, this causes raining and everything. The black guy somehow makes a magical diagnosis that his ribs are crushed and he doesn't have long left. I'm not sure, he must be Jesus incarnated. But anyway, they talk to him and he's on the ground. And know what they do? They don't console him. They don't, they don't offer to contact his loved ones for him and everything. Know what they do? They try to convert him to fucking Christianity. The first thing the Reverend says is, do you know Jesus? And he's like, I'm an atheist. And then he just goes on, he says, oh, this is an opportunity. This is God's mercy. You're getting hit by this car and not dying instantly. He's given you a chance to change your ways. Oh yeah, great mercy. I'm going to hit you with this car, but I'm not going to kill you instantly. Oh, the great and merciful Lord. What a swell guy. Anyway, the Reverend convinces him, and the atheist professor, as he's dying, he's like, yes, I take Jesus as my Lord. And he's like, are they trying to invoke, like, Pascal's wager? Like, is he just going to, like, oh, well, I'll say I believe in God to die just in case I go to heaven. Fucking ridiculous. But, yeah, that's great. And then after he dies, right, after he dies, the missionary guy smiles and says, tonight is a night for celebration. This is after all the concerts happened and shit, and everyone's celebrating about God, and, you know, everyone texts their friends, God's not dead and stuff, and the black guy, standing above the professor's dead body, smiles and says, tonight is a night for celebration, God is good, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, let's celebrate. A man is fucking dead in front of you, but let's just celebrate Jesus. That's the movie. This movie offended me personally. And if you're an atheist, it should offend you. What pisses me off the most is how successful it's been. It's made several $1 million at the box office. It's made a lot of money. And, I'm just worried about people seeing this and then thinking that it's true. Thinking that atheists really are these evil and petty people. And I don't really know what else I can say about it, aside from the fact that I really do regret watching it. I thought it was going to be fun and hilarious, but I didn't enjoy watching it at all, and I don't recommend that you watching it. So I've basically described the whole plot to you anyway. So, God's Not Dead, if I'm reviewing it as a movie, I'd give it a 0.5 out of 10. I can't think of any redeeming factors. All I can think is that it made me laugh a couple times. I don't know, but yeah, not a good movie. It's actually riled me up quite a lot. It made me pretty angry, but anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your continued support. God's Not Dead. Just to wrap up, did I mention that this video was really lame? If I didn't, here's a small compilation of the movie's lamest moments.
You're beautiful. I wish you not to do that.
It's from my father. He's very traditional.
Atheists say that no one can prove the existence of God, and they're right. But I say no one can disprove that God exists.
Then I have the right to ask you, who created God?
Dawkins' question only makes sense in terms of a God who has been created. It doesn't make sense in terms of an uncreated God, which is the kind of God that Christians believe in. And even leaving God out of the equation, I then have a right to turn Mr. Dawkins' own question back around on him and ask, if the universe created you, then who created the universe?
And you don't know. Huh.
Well, I mean, I'd like to tell you I have the perfect answer, but it doesn't shake my underlying faith.
If you truly feel a need to continue with this charade, I will make it my personal mission to destroy any hope of a law degree in your future. Have a nice day.
Honestly, I'm still hoping you'll change your mind. Right, but I have to do this thing. Like it's something that God wants me to do. I can't just turn away from it. I don't know, I just think of Jesus as my friend.
So, you think Jesus is God?
Yeah, I'm the Son of God. I don't want to disappoint him, even if everyone else thinks I should. See, to me, he's not dead. He's alive.
You just want to ensnare them in your primitive superstition.
What I want is for them to make their own choice. That's what God wants.
You have no idea how much I'm going to enjoy failing you.
Yeah, but who are you really looking to fail? Professor? Me? Or God?